have 4 members here, which establishes a quorum. I would like to call the meeting to order, please. All right, on the agenda approval, are there any additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda?
No.
Okay, I have some. I would like to move up under new business 6A. Let's move her up under communications and announcements. Let Kelly go home. A little bit early. Okay, and under communications and announcements, I'd like to add an opportunity for introductions for our 2 new members to introduce themselves to us. And under old business, I would like to add an update on the cultural center sign, an update on the Andrews House, and an update on the Bernard Thomas mural. Are you good so far, Catherine? Okay. And under 6B, I would like to add a discussion on the August 6th commission meeting. And that's all I have. Is there a motion regarding the amended agenda?
Motion to approve the amended agenda?
Is there a second? Yes, the light's on. There you go. Second. Okay, very good. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up is the approval of the minutes. Any additions, deletions, corrections to the minutes? No, seeing none. Is there a motion regarding the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Very good.
May meeting?
May 13th.
May 13th meeting?
Very good minutes, Catherine. I compliment you. Is there a second on the motion to approve the minutes? Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, under communications and announcements, let's have an introduction of our 2 new members. Would you like to tell us about yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Valentina Baroglia. I work for the City of West Palm Beach as a planner, and I am currently helping out our historic preservation staff since they are understaffed, so that's kind of how I came about liking historic preservation.
Okay. Is Frederick still there?
No, she's not. She went over to the town of Palm Beach.
Okay, that's good to know.
Hello, my name is Andrea Rodriguez, and I'm an associate architect. I work for Garcia Stromer in West Palm Beach, and I'm new in historical preservation board. I have a lot to learn, but I'm excited to be here.
Okay, very good. Welcome. Anybody have any questions for them? Okay. All right, moving right along. That's you, Kelly. You're up.
I'm sorry, staff does have some updates under communications we'd like to add.
Oh, my bad.
Yep.
Please.
So there are 2 items that I'd like to update the board on. The first of which is actually one that you brought up, the cultural arts sign. As you know, you guys did hear an item before you, or if you don't know, I'm sorry. There was an item here to add a wall sign onto the cultural arts building, which is right across the street that way. And the feedback from the board was that you would suggest a different method, that the sign wasn't consistent with the style of the building. And I wanted to update you all that they did take that advice. They are not going to do a wall sign, and they are replacing it with a freestanding monument sign. That change does remove it from the board, from requiring board review, so that will be moving forward as advised by this board. The next item I wanted to update you on, which was part of the last agenda, where there were 6 previous nominations from this board to recommend designation. Those items were brought to the commission as a recommendation from this board. The board requested, the commission, requested that we do not move forward with those designations, but in turn reach out to the private entities and give them more information about designation. And if they wanted to choose to do a privately initiated designation, then they would be able to do so. So staff did move forward, and we did reach out to the owners and provided a letter and information on designation. To date, we have not heard back from the 6 property owners yet. That's all I have.
Okay. I would like to clarify a little bit though on the directions that were given to staff as far as what to bring to the city commission. The motion had been to add the Little League Park and the Woolard Cemetery to the local register. Those are the only two items that were to be brought to the city commission for permission to move forward with. The churches were indeed, you were directed to reach out to the churches to see, engage their interest in being put on our local register. And the Andrews House, the report for the Andrews House is already written. So the only thing that's stopping that is the owner of the property at the moment. So I just wanted to correct for the record that you were only directed to bring two things to the commission.
We're happy to review the minutes. However, any of the recommendations from this board, it is within the city commission's purview to review. So since we had several items that were in discussion at the board, we thought it appropriate to get some feedback. And we did. And while the city is interested in designation, I think the overall tone of the commission was that they would want these designations to be privately initiated instead of board or city initiated. So staff's moving forward with that recommendation right now.
Well, considering the city is the private owner of the Little League Park and the cemetery.
And the commission are the ones who make that decision to designate or not, and they told us they don't wish to move forward at this time.
I see. And the dollar amount that you brought forward to the commission, the $17,300,
Yes, ma'am.
was to cover what?
That was solely for the report. So we did get a quote from the entity that we typically use, Warren Adams. He gave us a quote for each one of the items to do the designation of reports and the research, and that is what we presented to them. So that was the accumulation, that was all of them, and we do have a breakdown of each of the items that he provided us.
I would like to see that amendment.
We're happy to send that to you.
All right, are there any questions? Anyone? Will we see the sign that they chose for the cultural center?
So the sign, since it's revision to a freestanding sign, it no longer meets the requirements to require a certificate of appropriateness. We can bring back an informational item to show you what they come up with, but it no longer requires approval from the board.
Okay, I did not understand us to need to approve it further, but Craig did offer the opportunity to share.
Yeah, we're happy to bring back an informational item to see where they are with that.
I would appreciate that.
Sure, we'll
Thank
add it.
you. Okay, now, are you have anything else? Are you finished?
I'm done, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kelly, you're up.
Good evening, Kelly Armstead, Arts and Culture Division Director. Here tonight, I'm not sure if you have the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Change the PDF.
Yep, that's okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're gonna,
Okay.
okay. Can you click it for me? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm here this evening to present to you the Barton Memorial Cemetery entryway feature and to request a certificate of appropriateness. And for the two new board members, I'll just briefly read the information so you'll have the background in regards to this particular design work. The city received a grant for an innovative art project to design an entryway feature for the historic Barton Memorial Park Cemetery. 2 candidates were selected from a call to artists and invited to make a presentation at the Art Advisory Board meeting on August 8th, 2024. The selected design winner is Blythe Armstrong, and she will receive a $5,000 honorarium. And Blythe actually is a Boynton Beach resident, and she's in Rhode Island right now as an art design student. Next slide. Thank you. Blythe's design consisted of this particular option with 3 different caveats. Option A, gate doors swing in while positioned directly on top of the block and pillars. Option B, gate affixed to 2 posts behind the blocks and swing in to open. And option C is a sliding gate. She included symbolism and local iconography, including pineapples, Point Siena, and paradise. This particular slide just talks about the mechanisms and using that particular option, option A, whichever one you like to use, whether it's the sliding gate, whether it's swinging in, etc. So again, this is just an explanation of her thinking in regards to the mechanism. However, when it comes to manufacturing this particular piece, the city will outsource it to a vendor, and they will actually manufacture. So again, Blythe just designed this for us. Next slide for me, please. And her latest design included an arch with the height, weight, and exact dimensions to be determined. We want it, of course, high enough so that whatever may be able to enter, because we were told that alongside those two pillars, the city was going to put up a gate, so the entire park would be surrounded. So again, this would be just the entryway, and she created an arch design, again, including those elements of design included in this arch. Again, the height and weight will be determined at a later date, but this is the design. And that is all that I have for you.
Very good.
Thank you.
It's very pretty. Do anybody have any
Any
questions?
questions? I'm sorry, any questions?
Yeah, I have one question. Is there any proposed vegetation to go around the, gates or the fence?
Is it proposed what now?
Vegetation?
No, not that I know of.
Turn your finger.
Like that.
Turn your finger.
It's not on.
Hello. The fencing on the side of Flowers Lake, are you gonna replace that with the normal fencing that are around the other cemeteries? Cause right now it's just a chain link, and the other ones have the aluminum and black, just like that one, and there are trees growing through the other.
Do you mean at the Barton Memorial?
At Barton.
Well, there's another cemetery, forgive me, I'm not quite sure where it is, and they've already installed the black metal fencing around it, and that's the same black metal that they want to use at the Barton, which is why we were instructed to give the design artist the idea of using the metal black so that it will be in concert with the full around metal black fence that the city will be installing.
Did you mention any lighting?
There was no lighting. This is just strictly the design for the entryway.
Excuse me, Kelly,
Yes, sir.
has the city, thought of anything for possible hurricanes or wind damage, securing the gates?
Yes, again, she's just doing the design, but then the city will work with the manufacturer to make sure that it is windproof, hurricane-proof, storm-proof, etc. Just as the other gate, I believe that they just erected not so long ago. So yes, sir.
Is it the entire, is gonna be enclosed in a fence?
That is the idea, yes.
And there's only gonna be one opening?
It just depends on which one is selected, either with the gates opening or just the arch. And yes, right now it would be just that one opening. Once the gates around the entire cemetery that the city will put up, it will be one way in, one way out.
Just for clarification, if everyone would look to the overhead map of the site, the one that says site with the big red circle on it. Kelly, do you happen to know if they intend to fence in the entire park,
Not that I know of.
just the cemetery?
Correct, that's all that I know of.
Which,
But I can double check, but from what I was told, it was just the cemetery because the park itself is open, it goes all the way down the street. And they were trying to really preserve that particular area that was right there, the cemetery itself.
How high is it? Good. What I'm thinking is, when I go to the cemetery, I either come in the front or I'm walking down the sidewalk and I go in on the sidewalk. So if you had like a low fence with just a swinging gate, someone could come in where the walkway is versus going all the way around like that, they just go. That's all I was wondering, if someone could actually have an entrance through the fence, not big like that, just a regular entrance, this is at the sidewalk.
So that's a question that we can definitely take back to the vendor that's going to do the gate. Maybe at the gate level, there can be a way that they can open up the gate in order to enter that way as well. You know what I mean? Whereas this is just the archway to sort of give a presence of entering
But
a
because you
historic
don't want it.
location. Correct. I mean, that's what I would suggest, you know, another gate, I don't know, because you could have, I don't know, you have to, I don't know, drive a vehicle and, I don't know.
No
You know,
drive.
the daycare, or, I mean, on the sidewalk in order to do some, repairs, or, you know, take vegetation down, because, you know, it's right there by the interstate.
Yes.
So, you just never know.
I just think there's those square pedestals that they show in the photo, are they there?
They're there.
Okay.
Yes.
But they don't lead into the cemetery is over here.
They do, they're right there at the sidewalk to the cemetery, right as you see there in the
Mhm.
picture. And we also have another question, if we'd be able to, paint those two blocks black to sort of match the middle gate.
I don't know, are those pedestals historic, Vector?
I don't think, I don't think so.
Somebody said that there were, raised, like a frieze around it of some sort.
When we spoke with the architect, he didn't think so, but we of course wanted to do our due diligence and do our research, and we just wanted to make as, you know, as part of beautification
Mhm.
as possible. So we thought the black to match the gate itself would be most ideal. And of course, I know it has the writing on there, I think it says Boynton Cemetery, I believe that's what it says.
If I could
It
clarify,
says
the
Boynton
pedestal,
Memorial Park, no, it says Barton Memorial Park, so we of course will paint that black as well, so we got, or white, so it will pop, or green, or leave it green, whatever.
so the
Yeah,
pedestals
they-
are considered historic, and any changes to those would require, this board's approval. They are historic.
Well, the sidewalk goes alongside the cemetery and then heads south. So I just wonder, it's pictured over that sidewalk, but the sidewalk is not part of the cemetery. It's like adjacent to.
Right, it's like almost from this picture, it's right, it's adjacent to that sidewalk that leads
Mhm.
into the cemetery, but that sidewalk, I believe it goes all the way around.
Where the tree ends,
Yes,
that's where that's where the grave is.
that's where it ends, correct.
So that's what I was thinking, have a, just a walk-in, where you could walk in. The walkway, like you said, is right along, you can have fence right along there, and you can't have to go all the way to the front.
Right, and see, if it's just an arch, you can, you know,
Mhm. I like the arch idea personally.
but the fence itself, that's a different story, and that would be the city and another vendor that would. Correct. So it would be probably to the right side of the walkway, I would imagine.
That would make more sense than having it, across the sidewalk because, I don't know, it just is in the wrong place. Unless, of course, they're going to eventually turn the whole thing into a cemetery, in
Or-
which case that would be appropriate. Because that entire parcel is under discussion, I believe, so.
Unless they make just a portion of that.
Oh, there's a
sidewalk.
good picture. There's a
Okay,
very good
yeah.
picture.
Unless they make just a portion of that sidewalk.
So the fencing is gonna go on the outside of the pedestal closest to, or, I mean, now it looks different.
And I can
Now
I can
it
also
looks
clarify that on either side of those pedestals, there are existing, graves. So that flat piece of concrete is actually a grave, and there's one on the other side flanking the other pedestal.
Seriously,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure we included that in our ground penetrating radar study that we did.
And so the arch would just go on top of those two.
Okay.
Would. Now, when it comes to the fence, it's a different story, it's not even us, that'll be another
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the
topic of
arch,
discussion, yeah.
for the arch, if they're going on the pedestals, if that fence was, if the arch was ever to be removed, would that cause any damage to the pedestals?
Again, that would be the manufacturer, but we would definitely make sure that it's not. We just want it to be aesthetically pleasing as folks come to the
Mhm.
memorial, so nothing to deter or to mess with, you know, those preserved pedestals or blocks there.
I like the arch arch idea, I wonder if the wording Barton Memorial Cemetery or Barton Memorial could fit across the top. Victor, would there be a bone of contention with the neighborhood, the people who are, have family buried there, to have it called Barton Cemetery? Because I think the community called it something else, didn't they?
It had a name, but it wasn't an official name, it was Black Cemetery. So I don't know what name, there was an Indian name for it, when it was, but.
Well, I mean, would it be acceptable and appropriate to designate it with the words Barton
Yes.
Memorial?
Yes, because Mrs. Barton is the main one that was cleaning it up for years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the two blocks, they actually say Barton Memorial
Yeah.
Park.
Oh, cool.
So the two green blocks there, that's what the front of it
Okay.
says.
And Barton has a lot of children that were buried there too. One of my uncles and cousins were buried there. It was kind of rough back then, so a lot of kids
Mhm.
were drowning and they got buried there as well.
I know, just for everyone's information, we did have, Florida Atlantic came up with ground penetrating radar, and they went over the whole thing, and we were surprised to find out, they came to the conclusion that the families were burying their family members in the same graves.
Yeah.
Yeah, on top of each other.
Yeah.
Yes. That's actually very common amongst African American families. My family in turn, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
On top of each
I
other.
don't know why. but-
Yeah.
How do you do that?
It would save space, I guess.
I'd also point out that the two pedestals, they were approved historically as just to be concrete. We can't find any approvals for them to be painted the way they are right now.
The fencing can go behind the pedestals, not in the pedestals.
That's a good idea.
So in term, once you work with the manufacturer, that may be possible, but considering that there are existing graves nearby and the fence would require some sort of foundation, it may be complicated.
Or maybe in the front corners.
Right, there may be a creative way to do that, if the goal is to not disturb the pedestals themselves.
I think that's a good idea.
So the pedestals are preserved, they can't
Yes.
be painted or touched up or?
They can be, it would just require board
Okay.
approval to do so.
And, okay, so they can be painted.
If the board approves that through a
Okay.
certificate of appropriateness,
Is
yes.
that a separate approval that we need to ask for or?
It would be, yes.
Okay.
I don't know if black's good at night. But if it's gonna match the fencing, but it's green and white. Same color as white.
Or even
I
the
would consider
green
stripping
becomes
them.
black. And everything else remains the white.
Or,
Well, what does everyone think about your preference for, the gates seem like too much mechanical folderol to figure out. And I can see neighborhood kids swinging on
So the arch,
The arch,
I think the arch is more inviting to people
whether it's
also.
behind them or off to the side and it goes over the pedestals.
Well, what do you think about asking to have Barton Memorial across the top of it to further identify it? Or it's not necessary because the pedestals say Barton Cemetery? What do you think?
That would be much,
I like that idea.
much clearer, yeah.
With it across the top?
Yeah, with the name across the top, I agree.
and what name, would you want the exact name, Barton Memorial Park? Which is
Barton
exactly.
Memorial would
Well,
probably fit.
park is the whole thing.
Right, but I'm just saying, that's what's on the pedestals. Did you wanna replicate that, or you just wanted to say Barton Memorial?
What do you think, Victor?
Keep with the flow.
what does it say?
So
Or maybe just Barton, I don't know, what do you think?
I would go
What
with
does it say
Barton
on the
Memorial.
pedestal?
Barton Memorial?
Yeah, Barton Memorial.
You're too electric.
Those other two the same, Barton Memorial and Barton Park,
Barton Memorial Park.
Barton Cemetery.
It looks,
Barton Memorial Park has Barton Cemetery in it.
it looks like the existing pedestals do read Barton Memorial Park, if that helps the conversation.
I wonder how many words could fit across the top of the arch, though.
Well,
If it pleases the board, I can take it back to the designer and ask her to include the name Barton Memorial Park as well as Barton Memorial, so you can see the difference between the two and decide
Well, I think
what
since
you would
the
like?
arc is also going not on the pedestals, it might
Yeah,
be
it
a little
would
bit
expand
wider.
it.
Yeah.
So I think
it's
they
really
could-
pedestals
yeah.
inside the arch.
So the pedestals need to be the base of the arch, the legs need to be inside or on the outside?
I think the preference is to have it on the outside
On
to
the
not,
outside.
to not
Avoid anything.
damage
Right.
Yeah.
the.
So not to touch the two pedestals at all, so right on the outside.
I think that's the safer way to go.
Then the name definitely fit.
Oh, then it would, yeah,
Or
expand room for the
The whole
legs.
thing, okay,
It's very pretty though,
sounds good.
isn't it pretty? I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
As long as it's tall enough to, allow, like 6 people under.
Absolutely, that's why we left the height, weight, and exact dimension to be determined
Mhm.
once we get with the manufacturer, so we can decide. You can let us know how
Okay.
high you would like for it to be, 9 feet, 10 feet, so I don't know.
So it seems we have consensus that we like the arch with wording of identifying the cemetery. And our preference would be to put it, somewhere on the outside edge of the pedestals. It's consensus?
I'm sorry,
Is,
Yes.
I'm sorry,
what,
could you repeat?
do it again? Okay, I was just saying that it appears we have consensus for a preference for the arch. And having it not destroy or damage the pedestals and include the identifying wording across the top of the pedestal. Is that,
Yeah.
Just to
When you
clarify-
drive up, you can't see the
I'm sorry,
street.
what?
I apologize, just to clarify, would the preference be for the arch to go on the outside furthest edges so you could see the entire arch? Or is the preference to hide the poles behind the pedestals?
Well, as you pointed out, there is a gravesite.
We can give them both options and see, 'cause I don't know exactly where the graveyard is or how wide a foundation would have to be. So aesthetically, I'd like to know what the preference is, and we can have the designer give us 2 options, and it'll end up on the manufacturing side, which is the most possible.
I mean, if he shot for that front corner there on the the exterior corners of the thing, it'd be at the front of the pedestal and maybe far enough away from that gravesite. I don't know. Look into it.
Yeah, I think it would depend where the gravesite sits
Yeah.
at.
Mhm. Because I'm not sure, are you positive that's a gravesite right there? I'm not positive that was,
I believe we found research that says that, yes.
that shows it is, okay.
We will double check and confirm and get Kelly the information.
Remodeled like that. Short Reach, that one, and a couple more apartments. Wow.
Okay, I think I'm gonna ask for a motion. Is there a motion regarding, the ceiling?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Is there anything on that other pedestal? It's like blank.
The words?
Yeah.
Well, that says Garden Memorial Park, but the other
It's
one
painting,
doesn't, but
just the
maybe we
picture.
They
can't.
probably
It's a
both
relief.
say the same
It's just a
thing.
painting.
No, I
It's
believe
like
it is,
a print.
I believe
It's
it
like
was
a
blank.
print.
In my thinking, you have Garden Memorial
Introduce yourself.
Park, which has Garden Memorial Cemetery in the park,
Staff can clarify.
so there's nothing on it. So it's like,
Good evening. My name is John Stout. I'm planner 2. Just to let you know, on the other side, there is a artistic frieze of a plantation that is considered historic. And this is one of the only reasons why these pedestals are considered historical, is because it's a good representation of, forgive me for forgetting the name of the type of art, but folk art. So it's artistic frieze of folk art, and a frieze is actually a 3-dimensional image on the pedestal. So
oh,
that
okay.
is
So that's what's on the pedestal to our right, instead of the words?
yes.
Okay.
You just have the design and no work.
It's a relief.
Relief.
So it's not, a painting would be flat, this is like a relief, so it's a 3-dimensional painting.
You're gonna have a painting?
No, it's
It
already,
exists.
that's why it's historic.
It's raised, the design is raised.
You
can't see it in the photo. That's
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, it's very hard to see on the photos,
Okay.
but, it is, listed within the ordinance that approved this to be a historical site. The two, columns on either side were actually shown as an exhibit of a historic, relevance.
Okay. Any more questions? No? Okay, so,
Sorry,
let's,
turn it off.
anybody willing to make a motion regarding, what we've just discussed in our consensus?
Motion to approve the COA on the gate design for the Barton Memorial.
Okay,
I'm sorry, forgive me, the archway.
a second.
and Victor, thank you, you seconded it, do you get that, Catherine? Okay.
If you could please clarify the changes you would like to the existing gate, such as the lettering,
Okay,
Okay, motion to approve the COA, including the lettering on top of the arch to be determined, Barton Memorial Park or Barton Memorial.
whatever fits.
Right.
Whatever fits.
Is that the only clarification, or do we need clarification?
and to revise the gate to not to touch the existing pedestals, but to be moved either to the outside corners or behind in the least impactful way, for the existing graves.
Okay, write that down.
I second that.
Okay, are we good? Are we good? We approved what, Amanda just said, as she added the rest of it to the, parameters. Are you good, Kelly? Does this make sense?
Yes, so move the archway to either the outer corners or to the floor, to the ground, either in front or behind,
Or beside?
or beside, okay.
Okay, good. All right, that's very pretty. I like it.
Thank you.
I like it. Thank you for your time, Kelly.
I believe Mr. Barton's still alive. Mr. Barton is, or Ms. Barton?
Turn your thing on if you're gonna talk.
I said, I believe Mr. Barton is still alive.
Really? Oh, okay. Yeah, we're gonna have some cemetery, or ceremony when it comes, so that we can invite the family.
Any families?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
That is my own families.
That would be a good idea, Victor. We'll put you in charge. Okay, let's see what's up next. Okay, the August 6th commission meeting, Amanda kind of touched on. I was at that meeting, and I don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to, watch the video. Amanda, presented to the city commission the list of 6 things that we've really been hoping to get on the, local register. 2 of which really could move forward if, the city commission would approve. So I'm not giving up on getting those two locations approved on our local register. It would not be that difficult for the city to get the reports written for those things. Heck, the Little League Park report I could write myself. So, you know, if we're looking at spending $5,000 on reports for those 2 things, I think that's very extravagant and unnecessary. The churches, a reach out effort needs to be made to these churches to make them understand that we purposely wrote the ordinance in our program, the parameters of our program are not as stringent or tight as the National Register strict, replace every stick and put it lovingly back rules are. Because we wanted to encourage people to want to participate. So our program mainly focuses on the exterior of buildings. So unless the churches were thinking of doing a big addition or changing out the stained glass or something that would affect the exterior of their buildings, I would like very much for them to understand that we do not dabble in the interior of their buildings. And I think that we need some kind of an outreach to make people have a better understanding, whether we do a better job of getting the information on our city website, explaining the parameters of the program, that it's not as painful as they fear, that we purposely made it a welcoming kind of thing, that we would like very much for people with historic things to come forward, but I think that that's going to have to be an outreach kind of mission. And if we have to direct staff to help with that mission, then I'm all for it, because I've been trying to do it all alone for many, many years, and I don't seem to be getting anywhere. So I would like to know what everybody's opinion is on helping with the outreach effort. Anybody? Good, good, because
I think it's great.
I will
think
put
it's
you
great
to work.
Preserve the historic, buildings of Boynton Beach.
I have a question, what was the hold up? I mean, what was they just didn't vote, or? That'll be the first one.
Yeah, well, maybe you'd like to ask Amanda, because Amanda was the one that presented it to them, and they were all, they seemed almost antagonistic towards historic preservation, because we are a nuisance, we're in the way, we stopped development with our 90-day demolition delay that was not adequately explained to the commission why we have the power to delay that. And the reason we have a 90-day demolition delay clause in our ordinance is so that our historic preservation planner could document an historic building before it's demolished. And that was not made clear to the city commissioners, and they were quite disturbed to find out that we would be able to, I guess, potentially maliciously delay demolition somewhere. So there needs to be a lot better understanding of what our program entails, and it needs to be explained to people that that's why an ordinance like that is there. You know, if we had an historic preservation planner that could go out and document the interior of historic buildings before they're demolished. That's what we would need a person to do. And I don't know, we just need to better explain our program, and it needs to be better explained and understood. That, you know, we're not here to stop the bright, shiny, 1 million apartments that some people are determined to give us. So, anyways,
Volunteer with her.
I got 2 volunteers, I'll
So
take
now we're
it.
gonna go.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I don't know, Amanda, if you'd like to say anything to address the things that I've said, but I was quite perturbed with the reaction that the commissioners had.
Yeah, I can say, I would encourage you all to listen to the item. I think that the chairwoman is right, and some of the attitudes of historic preservations were kind of on display at that meeting. I will say I do believe that the issues that we were dealing with at that meeting were more along the lines from the idea that the board can recommend designation and not necessarily opposed to the designation of. The direction staff was given wasn't, in my opinion, anti-historic preservation, but it was, I think, leaning towards what this board is talking about now, doing more outreach, doing a little bit more education, and not saying that we are designating and going out and doing these reports without the cooperation of the owner. And I think a lot of what we heard was really highlighting that specifically. So what I can do as a starting point also is we did write a letter outlining the process to be designated and some of the benefits of designation. I will share that with the board as a whole. I will send a link to the meeting invite. You can see the presentation. This is actually the presentation that was given. It was pretty bare bones. We were really looking for information from the commission. It showed the locations of all of the 6 of the locations that have been discussed as a board here. We talked about the designation process, and we asked if they were in alignment with moving forward, primarily because these are unbudgeted items. And to have funded some of these studies, we would have had to have done budget transfers in order to fund it. So ultimately, we know that the City Commission does have the power to approve or disapprove the designation, and we thought this would be a nice way to bring it to their attention up front, get them to support the designations from now, support the budget transfers that we would have to move forward with, and ultimately support or not support the actual designation. And like I said, the direction we got is do outreach, let's get these privately initiated. We don't want to be the city that's designating people's properties. We want them to come in and apply for it. So I think that this tone of doing more outreach and connecting more with these individual sites that we see as valuable, I think the commission would support that greatly.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. If anyone were to read page 8 of our minutes, you would find that that's exactly what the directions were. The directions were not to bring the churches in front of the commission, which is very premature. We want them to voluntarily say, yes, we would like very much to be on the local register because it's an honor.
I want to be clear that this was a discussion item about the nominations. We weren't bringing anything to them other than a discussion. So this wasn't an item for designation. This wasn't an item to approve money. This is what the historic board is discussing. We have the Andrews House that the city did go out and do the report for. We had another 2 items that this board was interested in, and then we also talked about the churches. So this item was labeled, and this is the commission item, discuss the nominations made by the Historic Preservation Board to consider the designation of 6 locations. So we wanted to catch an overall tone. As you guys know, and we do not have a historic preservation planner on staff. So we are very busy, and we want to make sure that the city commission is in line with our thinking so we can proactively meet the goals of the commission and this board. So this was a way to kind of streamline the 2 entities that we are reporting to.
I would like to remind you that we've been 8 years without an historic preservation planner. And an expense of $17,300, even as exaggerated as it is not that much to ask to be spent on an important program like historic preservation. In our 8 years, I would be willing to bet that if you were to tally up how much we have asked the city to spend of dollar money to take out of your budget is peanuts compared to what a salary for an historic preservation planner would cost.
You know, Charity, I don't disagree, and I hope you understand that it's not me disagreeing. The budgets and the way we spend money is approved by the city commission. So, and this is part of the reason why we took this item, is because we need to know how the city wants to spend these dollars. We do not have a huge budget. Most of our budget is salaries. So we budget and line item every single project that this department's going to do for the year ahead of time. So if there are changes to that, they are very impactful to the department. Mm-hmm. And the only thing we really need is clear direction from the commission on how they want us to spend it and how they want to use the funds that we are allocated.
I would also add to that thought that as you, as the department head, approach budgeting each year, you look forward to anticipating putting some money in there for things that historic preservation might need, such as studies or historic signs or anything else that we would like to move forward on and we've been spinning our wheels on for 8 years.
We can attempt to request more funds for historic preservation in this coming budget
I would
year.
appreciate that, Amanda. Alright, so that's the comments that I have from the August sixth commission meeting. The other thing that I added under old business is the cultural center sign you addressed already. The Andrews House I'm still very concerned about. The Historical Society newsletter has come out and I wrote a piece for the Historical Society newsletter, so y'all might be anticipating some emails. We'll see if we've got any historic preservation supporters among the Historical Society. And as far as the Bernard Thomas mural, if you read the minutes from our last meeting in May, we were promised an update on that. Jay said that she was going to speak to staff, the city manager, and the cultural director, and will provide an update on the progress of getting the Bernard Thomas mural back in the Women's Club.
It's my understanding that his mirror is actually part of art, not a part of a historic preservation reviews. So it is really, that is need to go through the arts and culture director and their divisions to decide whether how they are going to arrange with this mirror.
Okay, I'm not giving up. That mural's going back into the Women's Club. It was in the Women's Club when the Women's Club was put on the National Register. It was painted by that artist for that location, and it needs to go back into the Women's Club. And none of the parties involved, the daughter of the artist, the church where it's currently located, where it was divested to, no one's objecting to having it put back into the Women's Club. It's simply the steps of a pickup truck, 2 guys, screwdriver, and the keys to the Women's Club, and we'll have it back in where it belongs, toot sweet. This is, I'm not giving up, fair warning.
Do you have just a picture of it, is there?
The Bernard Thomas mural?
Yeah.
It's on the internet somewhere, I don't have it with me. If we have some clever people on the computer over there, they might find it.
We are finding for you.
Thank you.
Maybe I've forgotten, but what was the impetus for the city removing that from the Women's Club?
This one, right?
They don't know, I know. Because it's a mural, it's a stylized mural of the timeline of the state of Florida. And if you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, everyone see what's up in the upper right-hand corner? That is the flag that flew as the state flag of Florida from 1868 to 1900. 38 years, that was the state flag. And that's the offending character right there. And we actually have a solution. We have a photograph of the artist that the daughter of the artist is willing to provide that could temporarily cover the offending flag. So there really is, it needs to be back on the wall. It's a very valuable city historic asset that was discarded.
Where was that mural at?
Where was it?
It was in the Women's Club up on the second floor.
Nope, it was on the first floor as you went into the kitchen part.
Oh,
On the
that's why
wall.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, no, there's no murals upstairs.
There was
There-
one
You're
on the
thinking about
wall.
the backstop, the
Yeah.
backdrop on the stage.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so I just wanted to let you know, I'm not giving up. It's getting back in there, whether it kills me. It'll be on my grave, that gravestone. She tried to get it back into the Women's Club. Okay, so those are the things that I added to the under old business.
Excuse me, where is it at now?
It's across the street in the church, at the Methodist church, leaning against the dining room table.
That's not good.
Well, it won't be there for long if it kills me. Anyways, under other, I don't know, that's kind of an odd category. Comments by board members. Does anybody have any comments? I would like to share with everyone that the Historical Society's first program is October 28th. And we do all of our programs via Zoom. If anyone would like to be sent a Zoom invite, please just let me know. I'll be happy to forward it to you. The first program is going to be basically an interview of Jacob Rabinovitz, who is our new city, not really new anymore, I guess, the city archivist. The November 25th program is Rick Kilby, and he's discussing Florida's healing waters. And on January 11th of 2025 is it 4th annual or 5th annual Highwaymen show? If y'all know what the Highwaymen artists are, the Historical Society does a free program, January the 11th. The Highwaymen artists will be here with their art for display and for sale. So, that's all I have. Anybody else?
I have a question, going back to the mural. It was my understanding that all of a sudden everything was taken off and they were distributed to different people, but I thought it was all city art if it's in that building. And if murals are haphazardly, used, if someone else wanted to have it displayed with the city's approval, because it sounds like they just gave the mural away.
Yes,
I mean, that's like,
yes, sir, they did.
that doesn't sound quite right.
It's a very long story, Victor. Call me.
No, I don't want to hear a long story. But yeah, that's not the only one. That's not the only
Oh, I
thing
know,
that's taken off the
they-
walls and distributed wherever. If you
Yes.
know where it's at, you know, if you don't, you don't.
No, I know. It's a little bit terrifying because we have some valuable pieces of art that the city has invested in. And hopefully those aren't the ones that have
Were
been,
those donated or did the city pay them to paint that?
well, some of each. Some of each. The ones up in your neighborhood, those are artists have been paid to do that. Okay, anybody have anything further to say?
Or
Are you sorry you joined us?
Yes, I'm not. No.
Very good, okay. Yes,
what was the status of, the bell?
the bell from the Coquimbo,
Yeah. Any update on that, or?
where is it now? That's the question of the day. It's in a safe place, I'm not sure. Do you have any idea where the Coquimbo bell is?
I do not.
Okay, see?
We can
It's a very
ask.
strict question. When I found it, it was sitting outside in front of the Public Works garage, that I almost tripped over it.
I would think something like that, the city would want to preserve it, maybe somewhere in the Children's Museum, but it's unknown where it is currently.
Well, I don't believe it's sitting outside Public Works anymore, but supposedly it's in a safe place. I thought that they were working on a pedestal for it to put it in the lobby of City Hall. That was the last, yeah, and that's how far we've gotten on that project, so.
Can
I
you
don't know,
repeat the
Amanda, you wanna
name?
help us with that one?
I can. Can you repeat the name? What was the name of the bell?
It was a bell from the Coquimbo,
C-O.
Yeah.
Q-U-I-M-B-O, Coquimbo,
And that was
Huh.
shipwrecked, what, 1909?
1909.
That's where the timbers from the women's club were.
The original one.
Yeah.
I know that the city has been in the process of creating an inventory of public art and assets that we have. Gail Moots was in charge of doing that, and that is fairly complete. I'm gonna take a look, because they were identifying them in various storage locations once we lost our last art manager. So I'm gonna take a look at that list and see if this is on there, and I can get you an answer.
Yes, if you can do anything to help with the pedestal and the glass plaque, explain what it is and why it should be in the lobby instead of outside of Public Works, that would be
Yeah,
great.
that would be a very nice, thing in the entranceway.
Just because I don't know about how big is the bell.
About yay big around and
It's not
about yay,
huge, but
yeah, no, it's not gigantic by any
Okay.
means. Big enough to trip over.
I will see what I can do.
right, thank you, Amanda.
I'd appreciate that. Okay, any more for the business?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I did want to announce that the Meeks House is having its grand opening on the 19th, Saturday, from 9 to 11. We've been working real hard on this, so we'll have information, I guess, on the arts, cultural, the historical artifacts, and we'll have giveaways for the kids, books, clothes, toys, stuff like that, and music and more. My mom has 9/11 because she's not gonna stay out till long, but I'll probably be out there till 2. But it's official, she put it on the flyer, 9 to 11. If, does he want it?
Do you want to give
Yes,
everybody
please.
the address?
Yeah, give the,
413 Northeast 12th Avenue.
I'd like a flyer, yeah, please.
For everyone's information, that
Thank
is,
you.
his family home that is on our local register. We did have it put on the local register. And it's a fine example of a shotgun house, is that what they?
They call it a shotgun house because you open the door, the front and back, and the wind blows are great. There's no walls, and you open side. That's one thing I noticed about it. When you open all those windows, it's cool.
They built them that way on purpose.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, did you have anything else? Are you good?
No.
You're good? Okay. All right, if there are no objections, we stand adjourned. Seeing no objections, we stand adjourned. All right.
Stop recording.